about to have our IDX inaugural awards on the 29th of September here at the NCIE, and we have a range of, and we have 7 categories, and they're actually those categories, if you have a look here, are the across those areas of focus. So so there's well-being, there's culture and country, there's employment pathways, entrepreneurship, and learning and education. So our sponsors we have for that are Mervac, which is a construction company. We've got Microsoft, Prime Minister and Cabinet. The Prime Minister is going to come and launch an application to focus on literacy, Indigenous communities. Urban Growth is a state government, organisation, and Australian Unity, who look after elders. So we're just chasing another sponsor for the wellbeing category. But that's going to be a big event. They're our inaugural awards. So that's pretty exciting. So we're talking national leadership, regional, and really how, because we're, out there in communities where the rubber hits the road. So we're it's a strategy that's from ground up as well as top down, and because the CSIRO have put, BHP Bilton have put millions of dollars into STEMS programs, where they've got programs all around Australia where their Indigenous people go in and work with teachers to get them understanding about, science and Indigenous innovation and how, thousands of years of innovation and how that gets embedded into the curriculum, and how they understand embedding in the curriculum around STEMs, because we're not getting enough of our children and young people participating, in engineering degrees, and we know that, everything we read that engineers, are really good at doing the developing and, systems analysis and those sort of things. So, so our strategy is we can't do it all as a national centre. There's only 3 of us, but our strategy is around how we partner that reach, how we can build relationships between partners out there. Most of the partners, big end of town, are actually in the metropolitan centres. So our strategy is how we build our community people through developing, local facilitators, so that then they can actually drive that in their community and join all the partners up in community. So it's ground up, we're coming from all sorts of directions at this. So I'm going to stop talking, and Brad, you can talk a little bit.
Apply for the program. It's sort of like a grant as such. It's in total value of 25,000. So there's a lot of pre-communication leading up to it. We try to tailor each program to each individual site. So we don't say to each community, right, yes, so this is what we have and this is what we think you need. We ask those questions, like how can we help? Are there programs already happening in your community that we can tap into? So that's a way that we get a pretty good understanding of where we're going. So each community has to nominate 6 local members of the community to be trained up in all the workshops that we run. Because a part of the program too is that we leave each site 10,000 worth of the technology kit, so they can choose 3D printers, Lego Mindstorm EV3 robots, Ozobots, drones, like makey-makeys, all those sorts of things like that. And yeah, so that's why we train up the locals, because once we go and they receive their kit, they can then run the program and continue to have kids coming in, and so it is very much we try and make it very sort of a community driven. So we're at each site for a week at a time. So we do 2 days worth of training with the locals. We then do, we generally work with schools, but we have worked with youth organisations. Sometimes it's a mix of both, and that works really well. So we have the 2 days worth of workshops with them. So normally after each round, there's normally 5 or 6 sites in each round. So after each round, we like to invite back 2 members of the local community to come in for extra training on site here. And we find that also that's a platform where they can sort of all connect with each other and they can start talking about their ideas, their workshops they're running, offer each other support, because at some point we'd like to actually take a step back and let them just, run as they do. So we always sort of try to tie in, culture to technology. So, for example, the drones. So, a lot of the national parks rangers across Australia are now using drones for agriculture, for like a mapping and a monitoring sites, like land management. It's a new way to tell a story. It's a new angle on life. It's a way of, mapping cultural sites that have a lot of significance without actually walking on country, and ruining country. It's a way of how I worked up in the Kakadu and the rangers up there. They noticed that there was a lot of kids who weren't engaged in school, they weren't engaged in any type of youth organisation or after school program, and they used that as a way to engage these kids. And I think just recently one of those kids just became a ranger. So, it's working. In terms of what Arnie said, we've gone into some communities where they're off the grid completely. The only access to internet they have is very limited education internet. So these kids have no way of even browsing the internet or looking at what's out there. And then we take all these technologies in. That's the first time they've ever seen it, and they're touching it, and they're understanding it very, very quickly. I sometimes find that some of these remote kids actually work it out or understand it quicker than some of the urban kids, because you find that some of the kids in urban communities, they're on their smartphone, they're not listening, they think they know it, and then they don't, and then they're too ashamed to ask for help. Where, the remote kids they stare at you the whole time, and they're just listening, it's like a sponge absorbing all the information and knowledge that we share. So, we're very, very lucky that we get to meet, the real sort of, community-driven members of the community, the ones who want that positive change, So yeah, we're extremely lucky. Celeste, anything that you'd like to talk about?
Just and take ownership of that program within their own community. But STEAM education. So we're all aware what STEAM. Yeah, cool. It's really important that we expose those options and opportunities and those career pathways to them, because some of them don't know that they can do that. But yeah, so that's what I think. I feel like our Flint program is supporting our young people in that way. But it's fun. On top of all of that, it's really fun. So yeah, it's a great program. I love what I do. Yeah.
And I guess that we know the technology, and when I read the material that was sent to us, I mean, you guys, and we'd like to hear a bit more about what you do, but, we see that the big end of town, the developers and the Microsofts, and we give presentations to them, and, my dream is that we want that transformation or transference of the skills to our people. My challenge to Microsoft when I gave a presentation to 150 of their managers across the country was, one day I want you to be standing up here asking us what we can do for you. Bring Silicon Valley to Australia. We heard from an engineer who comes and supports us, and he said, well, Delilah, it's not all it's cut out to be. He said some of these developers aren't necessarily developing for social purposes. They're developing for their own satisfaction. And so our interest is about how the technology can support our communities, but also support that pathway to sustainability and economic independence. So the small, so we know at this end there's some tinkering and introduction to the technology. And up here, what we saw in our awards is we had 76 nominations, and there's some really high-end developers out there doing really great stuff. So we're trying to stay ahead of the learning experiences, the new technology, and I know that it's moving all the time.
Pretty tough sometimes to keep up.
So we're really, looking for the development, and we here at NCIE would like to set up an innovation or incubator, a hub, so that we can drive that, and support that innovation across Australia. It doesn't mean it has to be here. So, you know, it's about how we work with our partners, and how we get our children and adults exposed both ends of the spectrum, you know, so that they know that just by, these kids in the primary school know that just by tinkering with this and maybe, you know, a partnership with Code Club so they can actually learn coding. So we've got a partnership with Code Club, and how we can get them thinking about coding and how that makes the robots go, and how the, you know, so I guess we're just, you know, in that embryonic stage, but wow, we've got a really big vision, and we don't want to, you know, that we know that innovation is going to happen everywhere, and we just want to say, well, what's our role, and be clear, and how we, so we think setting up something like that here, you know, might help, and we're trying to join the dots out there and help communities to join the dots. The other, yesterday was it, Brad? Remind me, the day before we had a lot of the mayors from the Aboriginal Shire Councils and the Torres Strait Islander Shire Councils in Queensland come here. We hosted them, and they have a vision of having a digital strategy for Queensland across those 17 communities.
Wow.
You know, and how the local government association can help them do that. So, you know, place by place, and then eventually, hopefully, we'll have this whole network footprint joined up. You know, and our role is to try and facilitate that in whatever way we can. So what about...
This group it's an initiative that sits alongside a number of initiatives that are trying to build links with the 5 MICTA countries. The idea being that we're all different people and different countries, we have different cultures, and that we can learn a lot by having exchanges and learning from that diversity. Our foreign ministers get together, our diplomats get together, and it made sense, given that we're all grappling with these challenges of how do we grow our economies, the rapid pace of technological change, all of these things. Well, let's get the innovation leaders from each of our countries and get them together and work out, you know, how we can work together and share experiences and opportunities across the 5 countries, and the 5 foreign ministers, what they were really looking for in the people, and we've been really lucky to have this group gathered here today. It's not just people who have experience with coming up with great ideas and turning them into products and things like that, but people, I mean, the people here are really passionate about growing the innovation culture within their organisations and communities, and so there's been a lot of great discussions about how we build skills and how we connect people up so that opportunities can come place. So creating opportunities to create opportunities and those flow-on effects. So that's really the extent, and that's the extent of our involvement from government, where it's really about bringing the people together and saying, you know, we want to hear from you what you would like to do and what you think is possible, and we're here to help. So
we're from the government, we're here to help. Don't worry, I spent 30 years as a public servant, so I know this. But no, I'm not, I understand, that's really great, so, really exciting.
And it's been a great group. Everyone came in on Saturday, and we went to Newcastle. Sarah's based in Newcastle, and then we went down to Canberra, and we come back to Sydney last night. So I've got a couple of days here and there.
So, any of you are happy to tell us a bit about your